We anticipate in the next 10 to 12 years, approximately 8 to 6 million Hispanics coming into the United States and 41 million Asians. You have been the majority minority for 400 years in this country. You have been the number 2 population for 400 years. You're going to get kicked out of being number 2. You're going to go down and become number 4. Now, common sense, even a third grade education would tell you, if you didn't get anything when you were number 2, you all jumped ahead of me, but anyway, you can guess what you're going to get when you become number 4.
President Biden, do you support reparations?
Well, I mean, since I haven't spoken on this, got a chance. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single continent. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 2,400 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are the future of America.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest. Which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. This is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
We are owed $104 trillion on the very low end, plus $735 billion recurring. This number does not include the cost of about 50 Black Wall Streets that were decimated, nor compound interest from 2017 when Sean D. Rochester's book, The Black Tax, was published, nor the cost of Black life, nor the cost of living increases, nor the war on drugs, nor the current day pandemic. The number I'm working with is for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives. Good evening on the West Coast. Good evening in the mountain. Good evening in the central. Good evening on the East Coast. You know exactly who it is, family. Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the most, is on the Reparationist Perspective, bringing you those freedmen hot topics and making the case for reparations, making the case for weaponizing our vote, socializing our suffering. And this segment, we're going to deal with the Catholic Church. I was inspired to do this segment while listening to the elder gentleman, the Black gentleman on the prior live. I can't recall his name, but I actually share with you guys about how Thomas Kramer derived his math on the 6.2 quadrillion that we are owed on the very low end. Not by 104 trillion, 6.2 quadrillion just for slavery, with a conservative interest, compounded interest of 6%. But there is so much more that we are owed for, as you heard at the top of my intro. So we are old and old and old and old, family, and we're not going to be afraid to ask for every penny of what we are due. This is no time to sit up here and to be shy and to be concerned over white folks' feeling about our number. What we're doing is putting into place what our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, with our entire lineage, is going to benefit from once we procure reparations. It's not if, it's only a matter of when. And so, yes, in that last interview I shared, I chopped it up because I don't want a copyright strike. So I'm doing it in bite-sized morsels. But the Black elder gentleman in the tape, later on in that particular segment, he said he did not know that the Catholic Church was involved in our slavery. Now, I'm not laughing at him. He did mention that he had to drop out of school very early and had to sharecrop and things of this nature. So I figured, let me just look up an article and do a show back to back. Y'all know how I do. I got to take advantage of every window I can get. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. And thank you yet again, Terry and Tanya, for being in the chat. Tanya, I had asked of you, I know you can't stand my, chess with the vote that I'm recommending that we rally behind. I believe a trifecta of either party is the death knell for Freedmen. And so I would love to hear from you what you think your strategy, how your strategy could actually work in lieu of what I'm recommending, which is a red top and a blue Congress, until we can replace the lanes with full-chested cash until we can replace the lanes with full-chested cash reparationists. I would love for you to type in the chat what you believe a better strategy is than to lock the government down with a mixed top of the ticket. You see, Congress holds the bag. And so if we think that Congress, if we think the president hates us, Congress holding the bag, is never going to get anything done for us. Not that we've gotten much done under the Democrats. But what I'm suggesting is when you've been neutralized economically, all you've got is the vote. And so in order to protect the very, very minute programs we have remaining for 90% of our freedmen who share in less than 700 billion household dollars, you need to weaponize the vote. And like I said, I shared about Dr. Charles Morris's strategy in the prior segment. I'm not going to do that here in the namesake of time, but I like the idea of a red top and a blue Congress until we can replace the lanes with full-chested cash reparationists, and until they cut the checks, because what we're doing right now is clearly not working. Anytime you got Biden talking about rewarding illegal alien criminals with damn near $500,000 apiece, voting in trifectas clearly isn't serving freedmen. It's serving everyone but us. You understand. So with that being said, family, let me jump into today's, this particular segment. It'll be brief. It's the Amsterdam news. And I'm over here. So do know Facebook, Twitter, I can't see you nor your comments. If you'd like to be seen, if you'd like to be acknowledged, if you'd like your comments read, please jump over to the Reparations Perspective channel on ScrewTube, okay? So let's talk about it. This is the Amsterdam News in an article by Stacey Brown dated September 18, 2018. And of course, I'll be commenting in between. Two things inspired this particular segment. The one was the gentleman, the elder Black gentleman in the video that I shared prior of Thomas Kramer explaining the 6.2 quadrillion for slavery that we are owed. It's bare bones, that 6.2 quadrillion. The other thing that inspired this is an extraordinary, I'm sleepy today because I was binge watching Epic's original series called Enslaved. The executive producers of that is Samuel and Tanya Jackson, his wife. It is rich beyond rich beyond rich. But one of the things that was a gut punch to me was the churches was seeing um, the point of no return. I do believe that is in Ghana, if I'm not mistaken. I, I'm on overload with having watched four episodes back to back last night. But I do believe it was at the point of no return. They showed like a church, or at least a church room, where they would go inside of where they had the slaves warehoused in the bottom of this place to exit on their transatlantic slave voyages to Brazil, the Caribbean, and to America. And these Mickey Fickies, who profess the name of God and all of these manner of thing, was literally warehoused in the same building in the upper room, praying, and then doing all these nefarious things like raping the women and children who were held in the bottom of the point of no return. You must watch this series. It's Epics, EPIX. It's a separate app. Even if you've got to apply for 7 days to watch it free, do that. Okay. It's going to blow your mind. I'm not going to give it a lot of spoilers here, but Samuel Jackson had traced his ancestry back to his roots in Africa, went over there, had the whole ceremony, the whole 9 yard. And so I want to do the same with me and my daughter. It's just so rich. And then they've got Diving with a Purpose, going to all these different places in the ocean, diving for shipwrecks and telling stories of the atrocities. Now, Samuel Jackson says 2 million slaves were lost in the transatlantic slave voyage. But if you look up the beginner's book called The Black Holocaust, they say 100 million. So I don't know what that truth actually is, but I do know that we had a lot commit suicide, and then a lot that were murdered by the glacier donkeys while at sea. And I'm not going to give any more of that away, but that too inspired this particular segment. So let's jump into it. Welcome, one and all. The major role the Catholic Church played in slavery. The Catholic Church played a vital role in the transatlantic slave trade, according to historians and several published theses on the topic. The transatlantic slave trade was introduced by the coming of the Europeans, who came with the Bible in the same manner that Arab raiders and traders from the Middle East and North Africa introduced Islam through the trans-Saharan slave trade, according to africaw.com, a premier informational website available throughout the continent. In fact, the church was the backbone of the slave trade, the authors wrote. In other words, most of the slave traders and slave ship captains were very good Christians. For example, Sir John Hawkins, the first slave ship captain to bring African slaves to the Americas, was a religious man who insisted that his crew serve God daily and love one another. His ship, ironically called the Good Ship Jesus, left the shores of his native England for Africa in October 1562. Some historians argue that if churches had used their power, the Atlantic slave trade might have never occurred. Did you hear that? That bears repeating. Some historians argue that if churches had used their power, the Atlantic slave trade might have never occurred. But you see, they were complicit. I was in shock when I found out only 4% of the Africans came to the shores of the Americas. Close to 50% were in Brazil, and the rest were in the Caribbean. 54. So the difference, I'm trying to envision the map and the way they mapped it out. But can you believe Friedman? Only 4% of Africans made it to the shores before they stopped legal imports of African slaves. And before they stopped it altogether because it was no longer profitable, I think we were around, I don't know why the number 700,000 comes to mind, but the difference, 3.3 million of us were created in this country from the rapes that were being held on the breeding farms and how they mated us one with another, whether it was your husband or not. They would make the strong Black men sleep with the strong Black women to create babies. That's how we got to 4 million by our emancipation. Now, if you're chatting, I don't see you just yet. I have to finish this segment and then I'll come back over and read your comments. Okay, so his ship, ironically called the good ship Jesus, left the shore. Okay, I read that part. By the same logic, others argue that the Catholic Church and Catholic missionaries could have also helped to prevent the colonization and brutality of colonialism in Africa. Doesn't this blow your mind that they are doing all of these things in the name of Jesus? Wow. Which is in total opposition to what the Christ really represents. They corrupted the Bible and its teachings to justify enslavement of us because they viewed us as animals, chattel. And that's how they treated us. It was atrocious. The horrors during that voyage over here. And only 4% of Africans made it to these shores, of all the Africans that were traded in slavery. We are their descendants. We are freed men, women, and children. That's mighty powerful. It speaks volumes when you watch that epic series and see what the Africans, our people, underwent. It's going to blow your entire mind that we actually made it through that. Hold on, family. My computer is trying to die on me. Just give me a second so I can plug in. Please like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Let me skip this over because it doesn't reach. Oh, should have plugged this up earlier. I forgot. Oh, we're struggling to stretch over here too. Plugged in. All right, we got action. So yes, when you watch that series, it's going to blow your mind, the strength of our ancestors and what they endured to get here so that you and I can have this conversation over here on ScrewTube. It's going to absolutely blow your mind that is the strength of our people in this country. So we've got it hardwired in our DNA. You have to keep going. So back to the text. However, according to a 2015 Global Black History report, the Catholic Church did not oppose the institution of slavery until the practice had already become infamous in most parts of the world. In most cases, the churches and church leaders did not condemn slavery until the 17th century. The 5 major countries that dominated slavery and the slave trade in the New World were either Catholic or still retained strong Catholic influences, including Spain, Portugal, France, and England, and the Netherlands. They all owe us, family. Quote, persons who considered themselves to be Christian played a major role in upholding and justifying the enslavement of Africans, said Dr. Jonathan Chisholm, an assistant professor of history at the University of Houston downtown. Quote, many European Christian slavers perceived the Africans they encountered as irreligious and uncivilized persons. They justified slavery by rationalizing that they were Christianizing and civilizing their African captors. They were driven by missionary motives and impulses, Chisholm said, me speaking, and they learned everything about how not to be savages themselves. From whom? Ding, 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 Africans. You see how they flip it to justify their puckery? It's unconscionable and it's unbelievable. Further, many Anglo-Christians defended slavery using the Bible. That same Bible that liberates many of us today, because we know how to study it as the spiritual manna it is to who we are spiritually, which is the Christ manifested in these bodies. I'm a metaphysician. I study the word in spirit and in truth. So that very same word that liberates me and gives me an understanding of who I am as the Christ is the same Bible used to enslave us. For example, white Christian apologists for slavery argued that the curse of Ham in Genesis chapter 9, verses 20 to 25, provided a biblical rationale for the enslavement of blacks, Chisholm said. In this passage, Noah cursed Cain and his descendants, arguing that Ham would be the lowest of slaves among his brothers because he saw the nakedness of his father. A further understanding of the passage also revealed that while some have attempted to justify their prejudice by claiming that God cursed the black race, no such curse is recorded in the Bible. You see, and this is a problem when you've got 500 manuscripts before the word press. When slaves and aristocrat, or whatever the hell you call them, the leaders and the wealthy were able to edit the Bible, to twist the word and to co-opt the word and to corrupt the word to say exactly what they needed it to say. That's what the King James Version and the Nicene Council was all about. We are so far from the original text of that Bible, it's as if it never existed. And all of it came from Africa. That whole entire Bible are the Egyptian stories and the African stories of spirituality, whitewashed under King James and the Nicene Council to bring you the versions that we all read from to this day. It's unreal what they've done to co-opt and whitewash everything that originates from us as a people. That off-cited verse says nothing whatsoever about skin color. Also, it should be noted that black race evidently descended from a brother of Canaan named Cush. Canaan's descendants were evidently light-skinned, not black. Truly, nothing in the biblical account identifies Ham, the descendant of Canaan, with Africans. Yet, Christian apologists determined that Africans were the descendants of Ham, Chisholm said. Nevertheless, at the beginning of the 16th century, the racial interpretation of Noah's curse became commonplace, he said. In 2016, Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., offered a public apology after acknowledging that 188 years prior, Jesuit priests sold 272 slaves to save the school from financial ruin. This is how the New York Times first reported the story. The human cargo was loaded on ships at a bustling wharf in the nation's capital, destined for the plantations of the Deep South. Some slaves pleaded for rosaries as they were rounded up, praying for deliverance. But on that day, in the fall of 1838, no one was spared. Not the 2-month-old baby and her mother, not the field hands, not the shoemaker, and not Cornelius Hawkins, who was about 13 years old when he was forced on board. Their panic and desperation would be mostly forgotten for more than a century. But this was no ordinary slave sale. The enslaved African Americans had belonged to the nation's most prominent Jesuit priest, and they were sold, along with scores of others, to help secure the future of the premier Catholic institution of higher learning at that time, known today as Georgetown University. Quote, the Society of Jesus, who helped to establish Georgetown University, and whose leaders enslaved and mercilessly sold your ancestors, stands before you to say that we have greatly sinned. Reverend Timothy Kasicki, S.J., president of the Jesuit Conference of Canada and the United States, said during a liturgy of remembrance, contrition, and hope. We pray with you today because we have greatly sinned and because we are profoundly sorry. During the early Republic, Catholics celebrated the new Constitution for its guarantee of religious liberty while simply accepting its guarantee of slaveholding, according to blackthen.com. Internal church politics matter too. When the Jesuit order was suppressed in 1773, the plantation system of the order in Maryland was seen as a protection for their identity and solidarity. The Universal Church taught that slavery enjoyed the sanction of Scripture and natural law. Throughout the antebellum period, many churches in the South committed to sharing their version of the Christian faith with Blacks. They believed that their version of Christianity would help them to be good slaves and not challenge the slave system, Chisholm said. Yet it is important to note that African Americans made Christianity their own, and Black Christians such as Nat Turner employed Christian thought and biblical texts to resist the slave system. Furthermore, Black and white abolitionist Christians played a major role in overturning the system of slavery, he said. So there you have it, family. Let me jump back and see what you've got to say about it. Hi, BB. Nice to see you. Okay, let's see here. Welcome one and all to the live. Thank you for joining. Okay. Oh, okay. So Tanya says, welcome back, my hostess with the mostest. I'm back. Hi, Terry. Tanya says, we have a blue presidency now. Contentious gridlock requires a red Congress. Seriously, what you said does not make sense. I've got to put more candy out for the kiddos. I'll be back. I will never vote for another Democrat, period. Bibi says, thank you, Angela. And she says, I watched it on Epics. I had to take a break in between. My spirit and soul became unsettled. It's very unsettling, Bibi. I could barely sleep. But like I mentioned, it strengthens my resolve in this fight. To watch it strengthens my resolve. But it is horrific in every way, shape, and form. But this is what they're trying to keep away from the public. This is what they're trying to keep away from even white folks, like their children. They don't want them to know the heinous chattel slavery, the worst of its kind in the whole entire free world that we have endured, our ancestors endured. But it's imperative that we know the truth of this history so that we can get more allies. Otherwise, we'll just have a bunch of white-hating immigrant, people running around controlling us in the same way that the white oppressors do. And no, I'm not for a trifecta of either party. I'm just not. I don't see how that's going to benefit us. We got no advances under Trump. when he had a red top and a red Congress, in the same way we don't have any advances under the Democrats with a blue top and a blue Congress. They are two wings of the same oligarchical bird. And until they really out themselves in a major way, that they are one in the same and are fighting the same agenda, which is to extinct us to as few in numbers as the Indians, then we must deliver a mixed bag. We must lock it down. Now, I know that some of you are in a red state and can't participate in that way. Well, I'm in a blue state. And come 2022, I'm still going to look for red. Or how about this? If you don't want to vote red nor blue, only vote for the people that, you believe. I don't believe any of them. They're all liars. I don't believe the left. I don't believe Bernie. I don't believe any of them. When I saw Bernie show his natural white ass, and talk about what is reparations and dumb down on the very thing that has delivered him and his people to this day with the help of the U.S. Barack Obama gave them $12 million towards a Holocaust we never participated in. And I mean, they've given them $1 bazillion for their armies and for their Holocaust, none of which, well, we did have a hand in it in a backdoor kind of way. Hi, Kia. Oh, I love seeing you on the live in the chat. Thanks, sis. She says she agrees. I think she agrees with moi. I hope so. I'm looking for a lot of us that are willing to weaponize our vote this election cycle. What did you say exactly, Tanya? I read what you said. Let me go back. Did I misread it? We have a blue presidency now. Okay. Contentious gridlock requires a red Congress. Seriously, what you said does not make sense. Are we not saying the same thing? I said because we cannot unseat the blue president and VP, that we must deliver a red Congress in 2022. In 2024, I said we must deliver a red top of the ticket and a blue Congress till times get better, till we can replace the blue lanes with full-chested cash reparationists who believe in our checks being cut in the quadrillions over multi-generations. I think we're saying the same thing. I said no trifectas. Trifecta means blue top, blue Congress, red top, red Congress. Both have gotten us to Mr. George Floyd, Mr. Jelani Day. We've got to lock it down and mix up ideologies before they come on out and admit that they're working as one cooperative. They're working in cooperation and collusion to render us to as extinct in numbers as the Indian. They're starving us out. We're the highest unemployed, the highest underemployed. So I think we agree. So I don't know what you're saying that I'm saying doesn't make sense. You said we now have a blue presidency. Contentious gridlock requires a red Congress. I said the same thing, Tanya. I don't get why you're saying what I'm saying doesn't make sense when we're saying the same thing. I don't believe in a trifecta of either party. It is why we are in the fight of our lives to prevent from becoming the permanent underclass in the country our ancestors built with their lives. I think we're saying the same thing. Okay, I'm so confused on what you're actually advising. I'm advising the same thing you're advising. You said we have a blue presidency, deliver a red Congress, but that you're never voting blue again, which means you believe in a red trifecta. I don't ascribe to a trifecta of either party. It's become the death knell for freedmen. I believe in gridlock, but I believe that we've got more programs for freedmen who were made the anchor. We've been legislated into the anchor of the Titanic. The red don't have any programs. I mean, they are totally about stripping all of it away and trying to tell us at a $30,000 median national income with a median national home price of $400,000 to pull ourselves up by our bootless straps. That is what the Republicans ascribe to, which is why they should not hold the bag. And when you're in Congress, you are in control of those type of policies. If we have a red Congress, which we definitely need come 2022, because we've got a blue top. I'm saying in 2024, let's reverse this and stay on delivering a red top and a blue Congress. Because right now, they are both operating to extinct us to as few in number as Indian. So yeah, we are in the fight of our lives to prevent extinction. You're absolutely right, Kia. And we can't keep delivering the Democrats a trifecta, nor can we deliver the Republicans a trifecta. We must, in 2024, deliver a red top of the ticket and a blue Congress. And this 2022, since we don't have that ability, deliver a red Congress. Now, if you can't stomach voting for either in 2022, then you need to vote anybody else but blue in that Congress. They need to pay and pay dearly for what they're doing to make us the permanent bottom caste in this country, spending our reparations on everyone but us. They must feel the wrath of freedmen while our vote still matters. You're dealing with the Democrats who are really fighting to give illegals in New York the right to vote, to put another Kabami in office there as governor. They literally are giving little trinkets and just enough to put the illegals on oxygen to drive them to the polls to vote against our interest. Okay? We are out of time. We must weaponize the vote and socialize the suffering, because the Democrats are doing the worst and most heinous damage to us, weaponizing immigration against us and giving them all of our repair. Amos Jones, I see you, fam. Thank you. Empower. Kia says, I have an appointment. I'll catch you later. All right. We are in this together, y'all. That's right. We are fighting for our survival. That's right, Kia. Yes. And I've come up with a strategy. Weaponize the vote. It's not unakin to what has been taught from the last election cycle, that clearly 87% didn't listen to us. They ran out and voted Democrat top and bottom. That's not what Democrat down ballot means. Democrat down the ballot means Democrat down the ballot. Anybody else at the top to make space for a red top. You can vote anybody but blue at the top. But now that we've got a blue top, we must deliver a red Congress. And 2024 will have an opportunity to get it right. So please like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Thank you for supporting my channel. Thank you for supporting my voice as a part of the new Black media. I'm in a solidly red state. Okay, I get what you're saying, but I'm telling you that it doesn't serve us to vote a trifecta of either party. I'm in a predominantly blue state. God bless us all, praying for a supernatural intervention. Oh, we definitely need one. But we've also got to play chess with our vote. If you're in a solidly red state, you got to rethink it, just like I've got to rethink it out here. I'm in a solidly blue state, but there'll be some red competing in 2022, and that's the red I'll vote for in Congress. When it comes to the top of the ticket, in 2024, I will be putting red there. I'm an independent, and I highly recommend all of you who are pissed off and hotter than fish grease with the Biden administration neglecting us while giving our repair to refugees and immigrants and white folks alike, that you start right now to run as an independent. Okay? Now, there's a lot of trickery going on with that. You're going to have to kind of jump back and forth. I know out here, they've got it so that you have to identify as a Democrat just to vote in the Democratic elections during the primary. You have to be a Republican just to vote in the Republican, I do believe. So independent, we got to flip-flop. We got to play this game because they're really trying to suppress our vote. They're seeking to gerrymander, redistrict, all manner of things is being leveled at us until both sides of the aisle's official plans are in place, which is to replace us with immigrants. Now, I work to build a third party. Well, sweetheart, you are working in vain. You are working in vain. You've got two wealthy, powerful parties that have shown us that they're capable of co-opting entire primaries, weaponizing Kuhn Clyburn and Barack Obama to give Biden the White House, who ultimately brought in Kibami through the back door. She was fourth in her own presidential race. You don't think Kuhn Clyburn getting involved in South Carolina to deliver Biden the vote, which kicked Bernie Sanders, who was kicking his behind, out altogether? You don't think that was instrumental in how Biden won the primary? Then Obama pulls up the rear and tells all of the other Republican and Democratic clothing to fall on their sword to make space for an Biden victory. And then, of course, this pandemic. We all know this RSV was created in the Wuhan, China lab for $50 million. And you don't think there was anything nefarious going on the way Trump was screaming about them stealing an entire election? Then you're blind. And I can't help you to see the puckery that went down this last election cycle. And so I say that to say, with all due respect, my queen, sister, Tanya, that this third party notion, because I've done that before. I voted Green Party before, so I wouldn't have to give it to the Democrats and could make a space for a red top. Last election cycle and the election cycle prior to that. And guess where those third party votes wound up? In the back of a truck off some side street. I've had the Green Party on here to talk about the nefariousness that goes on to guarantee they don't get the 5% to get the financing they need to become relevant. So do as you please. I am not expending an ounce of energy and trying to take down two of the most powerful parties in the entire globe, because I would not have energy left to fight for the 6.2 quadrillion plus that we are owed over multi-generations. You got to choose your struggle. And I'm done with that. Now, what I will do, because I don't want to vote a red top of the ticket, or even a red Congress for that matter, is use the third party vote to make room for a red victory at the top. And then when it comes to the Congress, I will intentionally vote blue, because over 50% of freedmen rely on government assistance by design of institutional systemic racism. So we all got to choose our fight. And I'm telling you, this fight for reparations takes every ounce of energy. I have no energy to reinvent the political will, fighting for a third party that the Democrats nor the Republicans will ever allow to be relevant. Hence, my red top, blue Congress suggestion until we can replace the lames with full-chested cash reparationists. Because we got nothing coming from the Democrats as it stands, and even less than nothing from the Republicans. This is called chess. This is called the weaponization of our votes. It ain't a personality contest. I don't give a damn what you call me. I'm not upset about no mean tweets. None of this bull. You call it Africa a shithole country. None of that phases me like it duped 87% of our electorate to sheep walk to these polls to deliver us our own peril through a Biden administration. This is chess with my vote, not checkers. So I will be voting anybody but the Democrats at the top of the ticket henceforth come 2024. And this election cycle, I will make way for a red Congress. If not, just flat out vote them. I'm so pissed with the Democrats. I'm done with them. Again, you can't talk strategy for our region. Okay. I still believe you can vote anybody other than, I'm sure that more than red is running in your region. More than blue is running in my region. Blue may dominate. Listen, I can't talk strategy for you guys, but I do know that the trifecta of either party is the death knell for us. I won't be doing that. I never have done that since Barack Obama. Okay, so Tanya says, let's go back and read her comments, and then I'm going to pray us out. She wants to work to build a third party. I already said why that's going to be an epic fail, in my humble opinion. And Amos says, influence the GOP while we are at it. There is no influencing the KKK, my friend. You guys can try. That's not my fight. Amos says, there's the 2024 playbook in that link. Which link? Please share the link. Tanya says, stealing primaries. Oh, they co-opted the primary. I saw that. My eyes are wide open. You see, I worked on Bernie Sanders' campaign the first time he ran. And he was being used, as far as I'm concerned, to turn out the vote. He knew full well he didn't have enough support to become the president. No, that was just a full-fledged fiasco and a money grab for the Democrats through Act Blue. And so I didn't fall for that trick the second time around. Politics are also local. Yes, they are local. Yes, they are. Agreed. We now have, Tanya says, nonpartisan elections here. Oh, I see. Wow. Sis, please don't talk to me like I don't know. Okay, I didn't know that I was talking to you like you don't know. Amos says, preach. Tanya says, again, you can't talk strategy for our region. Okay. Okay, very good. Amos says, even Donald Trump won't chase the waterfall of a third-party launch, and he's a rich white male billionaire. You better know it, Amos. And let me tell you something else. Bernie Sanders wouldn't fall for it either. Jill Stein begged him to take over the green. He refused because there's no power in it. Tanya says, we fought and got nonpartisan elections. Amos says, rich white male billionaire. Amos says, Lexington, Kentucky has nonpartisan elections, but the winners all still belong to one of the two male political parties. That's two main political parties. Agreed, Amos. You know, like I said, I only vote third party to make room for the red, not the blue. I only vote third party at the top of the ticket so I don't have to throw up in my mouth voting red at the top. But it's definitely to make space for the red to take it by not voting blue at the top of the ticket. Anywho, family, that's my time. I thank you so much for joining me. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever Friedman and its allies are, God truly is, because family, you are the face of God. You are the voice of God. You are the body temple of the Spirit of the living God. Until tomorrow, it's going to be a fire show with Mr. Cash Gaines. Mr. 40 Acres and a Tesla will be my guest. You make it a beautiful, God-inspired rest of your evening. Know that I love you black. I love you strong. Stay tuned for the outro. I forgot it last time. And there's so much fire in that outro. How could I ever forget it? I just love it. And it's thanks to you guys for being contributors to my platform. I appreciate you more than I have the words to convey, family. You are my sunshine. I love you so much. Let's get it going now, family. All right. I hope it doesn't keep buffering like this. Let's just... Ooh, child, one of these days, I'm going to have a producer that can do all of this so I won't have to buffer and all manner of things. Family, I love you black and strong. Peace. Good night. Dropping the mic like Dave Chappelle. Ha ha.